welcome. It is Tuesday, 24th of January, 7:07 p.m. And welcome to the Miles Offside podcast, where we talk a little bit of football and a whole lot of nonsense. My name is Chuck Bailey, no Oscar Puente. But with me, super producer Ian Stimson. Hi, Ian.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Not to have this pod be a bi-podcast, we have retained the ability to be a tri-podcast because, let's face it, that's more stable on a flat surface, guys, science. So with us, the very special one and only, since we got rid of the Chelsea fan, I guess we get in, and the Arsenal fan, Mr. Adam P. Adam P is with us. How are you, Adam?
I'm doing very well, thanks, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Absolute pleasure, mate. We know Oscar doesn't like talking about Arsenal, so now that he's gone, I guess...
And he doesn't like me, so...
Specifically.
I wasn't going to say it. No, but you are obviously having a bloody good time this season, so we thought, although, let's face it, our stance has not changed on that player, what I think wears number 5 and should not be playing, really, so taints a lot of this. However, it must be a good time for you being an Arsenal fan at this point.
Yeah, you know, it's been worse. It definitely can be worse. Last 2 weekends have been pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad, is it? Lovely comeback win this week. I mean, we'll get to the specifics of that, I guess. We'll start off with our very famous segment, Rapid Fire News! Our top story this evening, gentlemen, the time has come. The job has been lost. Yes, the entire Juventus board are gone because they've all been dodgy fucking bastards and fake newsed their transfer fees, their player movements, all sorts of absolute shenanigans. Not content with match fixing all those years ago, they've now gone the financial route as well.
Yeah. But this as well might be the tip of a horrendous iceberg, because this is just the opening gambit of the investigation. This only came about because a criminal investigation has uncovered a bit more than the previous, I don't know, just sporting investigation, if you like. So, because the wiretaps were listened to, and all the directors were basically just having a lovely old chat about how they've inflated transfer fees for like swap deals they've done. So it means that their books look better than they should do, and that's illegal because you're in a you're on the stock market and that you're on the stock exchange. You can't do that sort of thing. But it's not like they've got any previous for this sort of stuff. So there's still an appeal to be heard because it's a 15 points deduction.
Well, like you said, that's just the first part, isn't it?
It is just the first part because that's to do with. As I say, the transfer fee stuff, but then there's how players were paid during the COVID stuff, because a lot of players apparently took reductions, but they might have been paid under the table. So they, on the face of it, took pay reductions, but then might not have been. It's all very, very bad. And genuinely, it might be criminal. Yeah, like you say, I think it was it was before the World Cup, I think, or during the World Cup that the board all just suddenly resigned, which is never a good sign for, again, a publicly listed company, when all the legally responsible people for that company go, right, we'll go. So yeah, this could get a lot worse, and then you've got the implication of it's Tottenham's.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That Adam, you must be enjoying the casual friendly fire that has meant that this is potentially taking out Tottenham as well.
I just like that now Tottenham are sort of technically legally frauds as well as being sort of frauds on the pitch.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is the funniest thing though. Like you were saying, Ian, this is just the start, and it's a 15-point deduction. And you would think a club with their history of being I was going to say dubious with the law, but that's a generous way of telling criminal.
Very generous, yeah.
Very.
You think they would be like kind of wise to the wiretaps, but apparently they've been like caught saying some hilariously incriminating things like, if they find out about this, we're fucked. Or like, obviously not in English.
I'm assuming in Italian.
Yeah, it'd be a bit weird if they came out with sort of like a London accent.
Well, I mean, who knows? It could be them trying to say it was someone else all along.
Wow. I wonder if...
it was Adam P all along.
Yeah, it was Adam all along. I wonder, did any of them perchance take trips to the North Sea and drop some laptops in there and just...
Mate, they are fucking amateurs compared to Caroline Watt.
I mean,
Absolute
it would be a lot less suspicious if, like, they dropped their phones in the Med, off some super yacht, as opposed to going off of an oil rig in the North Sea.
Yeah, exactly, where you always go on holiday. Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's bizarre. Like you say, a 15-point deduction potentially just being the start is, big problems. That you could genuinely be looking at proper criminal...
I'm bored of talking about this. Sorry, I've just remembered. So, I mean, you needed to fill the Wagatha Christie hole, and I forgot about this. Should we talk about Gerard Piqué with Shakira?
Oh, of course. Jamgate.
Yeah, absolutely.
No one touch Shakira's jam. I mean, is that the worst bit of it? Probably not.
Sorry, is what the worst bit of it?
Well,
the theft of some bon maman.
As evidence, yeah.
God, imagine if it was a bon maman. That's pricey stuff.
It's Gerard Piqué. It's only the best.
It's not cheap. It's not cheap jam. They're not throwing out around trees in there, is they? No bits. That's jam. That's going to be jam with bits in it. They're fancy upper class people.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah, I would have thought so. But so what's the story here? This is long. Like she's released a diss track.
Yeah,
which is words that in a nearly 40-year-old white man's mouth really came out well, didn't it?
I was going to say, diss track. Is that what the kids call it?
I'm just enjoying it. It must feel like a holiday for you.
It's very weird. But yeah, so and then ultimately saying that she knew that there was something up because her jam had been eaten, and PK never eats jam. It's like fucking Airplane. Jim never has a second cup of coffee at home.
One for the teenagers there, including Adam.
A reference I totally understood.
Have you seen the 70s film Airplane, Adam?
I've seen the poster of it. I've seen the meme. The meme of the guy sweating.
Yes, good. Yeah.
Right, here we go. Oh, even I feel old right now. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Don't touch another person's jam. I wonder if he knew, like, she just walked in with the toast and it was like one of those films where they try and fill it back up. It's just like putting in, I don't know, raspberry washing up liquid. I have nothing, guys. I'm not going to lie.
Or he just spreads it round his mouth going, I just decided to suddenly eat some. That's sort of...
What about your berry allergy?
She's blowing up to the side. Yeah, okay.
It looks like Violet Beauregard. Let's put him in the juicing room.
Yeah. I can't imagine why we sort of retired the news section.
We're really on the cut and thrust.
Yeah.
And I didn't prepare anything for that and don't really know anything about it, but figured that in the absence of Wagatha Christie and the amount of content we got out of this, Jam's got to fit in there somewhere.
Wagatha's going to... I mean, there was that drama with Michael Sheen.
I still haven't watched it.
Oh, it's good.
It's actually really good.
It's really good. It's so good because one episode sort of focuses on, Vardy's side of it and one episode Colleen's. And just like we were on the pod, you get the feeling they're really trying to be balanced, but you just can't do it. It's just fucking impossible. And yeah, she looks absolutely ridiculous, but yeah, there you go.
I mean, I even enjoyed for anyone in the UK that watches the Big Fat Quiz of the Year, they always get every single year they've been doing it for I don't know, must be best part of a decade or more now. They get children at a certain primary school every year to reenact a story from the year. Yeah. And this year they did Wagatha Christie.
Oh, it was brilliant.
It was great.
Brilliant. And we got the Disney Plus documentary coming up and it's good stuff.
Yeah, I need to catch up on Wagatha content. Anyway, enough talking about things we enjoy. Frank Lampard. We all knew before he did.
He knew.
Has been binned off, apparently, by phone call by Farhad Moshiri, who didn't tell anyone else at Everton that it was happening.
Well, attended his first match for 14 months. I mean, it was probably... He knew it was happening.
I think he just tried to walk in and Alan Sugar it and just go, "You're fired," and leave.
Yeah, well...
That was about it.
Pretty much. I mean, he's not going to have particularly close personal relationships with his managers, I imagine, which is probably half of the problem, that they don't really... There's no joined-up thinking at Everton whatsoever.
Well, I don't know. The links to literally everyone, that's got to be good, isn't it?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I mean, I think managed by committee. Put the board in charge. Why not do that? Let's do it properly.
Well, it's funny because Everton's squad is sort of, is it the expression a horse designed by, or a camel is a horse designed by committee? That's sort of what Everton's squad is. It feels a little bit like that, except the committee is like the 1922 committee. And it's full of idiots.
Yeah.
It's wasting money.
Wow. This is what we get here, political satire.
Cutting edge content there.
I was going to say utter shit show, but yeah, let's go for the eloquent a horse by a committee. They've since been linked to, let's see, who have they been getting? Dyche, Allardyce.
Isn't he going to Cardiff, Allardyce?
Well, I heard
rumours.
that, Yeah, I heard that as well. Who else? The terrible guy just got sacked by Southampton. Hasenhüttl. And Marcelo Bielsa, who has said, no, your squad is too old and slow.
Oh, that's a shame. I'd love to see Bielsa try and... Yeah, well, he's actually had a passing glance at the squad and gone, obviously my style is not going to work with this lot and I'm not having any part of this. But so the only one actually thinking it through was the one saying no to him,
Well, and apparently they went after Thomas Frank at Brentford as well. And he took one look at that and was like, fuck no.
Why would he even consider it? I mean, he hasn't, obviously, but, it's just, what were they thinking? Like, leaving a well-run thing like Brentford and going to that shit show? Like, if Brentford went down, you'd fancy their chances of pinging straight back up. If Everton go down, fucking hell, see you in League One,
So, Lampard nearly made it to a year. I don't really want to be fair to him and say he's been treated unfairly, because he was shit.
He's been shit at every job he's done. He's never done it at any level yet.
He's a true Tory. He just fails upwards. Just constantly fails upwards.
You don't have to be a Tory to fail upwards, Chuck.
Speaking from experience here.
Exactly. But it's just I don't understand how. And he'll get another job. He'll get another decent job. I'm sure of it. And yet, even at Derby, which was the lowest team he went into, by his own targets he did rubbish. So I just don't understand.
He took them from 6th to 6th.
Yeah. And after saying that anything less than promotion would be a failure. Well, there you go. You did, mate. Then Chelsea. Now this.
He's under a point a game, points average at Everton as well, I think. So,
wow.
It's just appalling. And you're saying he'll get another good job in, but will he? Which club is taking a chance on him now?
Yeah. I mean, when I say good job, I maybe just mean top flight job. There's good jobs and there's good jobs, isn't there? Yeah, fair enough. I maybe mean the likes of Southampton, if they're going to give certain unproven managers a tilt, they'd if they were managerless, they'd have a go at Lampard probably. Is that a good job? Yeah, no, probably not. It's a fair shout. But I just meant a top flight job. Then maybe he'd still get that, and I don't really know why. Well, I do know why. It's his fucking name and everything, but it's just how many times does he have to not do well for him not to get a Premier League job automatically? We'll see. Maybe we'll see him at Peterborough.
I find it no chance. Yeah. Fergie for life. I do find it funny that we had the ex-Premier League midfielders all coming in at the same time. You had Gerrard, Lampard and Vieira. And considering the noise behind which kind of Gerrard came in and we thought he'd do a lot better, Lampard, well, I don't think anyone really thought that was ever going to work. I think it was a bad decision by Everton to appoint him and a bad decision by Lampard for taking it.
Well, it's just their scattergun thing, weren't it? Of managers. They've had so many managers with completely different philosophies in the last few years, and just spent ridiculous amounts of money on, again, players that don't necessarily fit whatever system the current manager is trying to play.
Yep.
And Lampard's managed to apparently ruin Calvert-Lewin and
Rhymes, so true.
Even though they got defenders in, they haven't managed to stop conceding goals. They've lost good players like Richarlison. You don't recover from that by signing Tarkowski and Cody and and they're going to lose Anthony Gordon soon by the sounds of it.
And Amadou Onana, people are trying to buy him, and he's been very good. So,
and even Calvert-Lewin will get a move away. Like, as much as he's not been very good since he's come back from injury, someone in the mid-table will probably
definitely.
Palace might pick him up. Who knows?
I mean, it wouldn't be unheard of. I just wonder if he's on quite high wages. But yeah, I take your point completely. I think if that club goes down, there's so many players. But
Dele Alli,
are their names
Donny van der Beek still there?
Yeah,
I mean,
Donny van der Beek went on loan, and Dele Alli's in
they're
Turkey.
Both on loan,
also.
but they're still Everton players, aren't they?
No, Donny van der Beek was never an Everton player. He's still Man United.
Oh, is
He's
he?
just injured for the season.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought that was a transfer. Okay, sorry, but Dele Alli is currently on loan at Besiktas, is it?
One of the Turkish giants. Right. Don't slag them off because their fans will come for you. But Dele Alli has not been playing because he's not been deemed good enough. So that is a fall from grace.
And they tried to send him back, didn't they? But Everton didn't want him back. It's like, God, that is some situation to be in.
That's retirement. That's get your coaching badges and try something else. Hook up with Ryan Mason, become a dog mayor somewhere, and away you go. You know? But anyway, what we got sequestered there. What I was trying to say was, turns out Patrick Vieira was the best one.
That's the point you were making. Yeah,
this is the point we're making. Speaking of Patrick Vieira, a nice link there to Arsenal, I guess. Obviously, nice. He is the last Arsenal captain to lift the Premier League trophy. Which, Adam, do you remember that happening?
So I would have just turned 7 years old.
Okay.
So
not as young as I thought then.
No, it's sort of at that age where you're aware of football happening and you're aware of supporting a team, but I don't really know if I watched football. I kind of just experienced football and used it as a tool to kind of like take the piss out of friends in the playground at school and pretend to be... Weirdly, I always used to pretend to be Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank when I was playing football. No idea why. But,
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was great.
I just remember used to like striking balls as hard as I could, and apparently that was something I associated with Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. So yeah, that'll be my player.
Yeah, you would. When you pick players, you'd be like, I'm him, and then you'd shout their name when you shoot. Every time he shoot, Shakira!
Yeah. We used to, for some reason, me and my mates had a thing where we used to pick like classic Leicester players. So it'd be like you'd do exactly what you said. You'd shoot and you'd be like, Steve Guppy!
He's always on about fish, isn't he?
Yeah.
Always brings it back to fish.
Always a link. Trying to think of another one now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another Leicester player that starts with fish.
Any player.
Tony Coddy. Anyway, don't even know if Tony Coddy played for him. Might have just been Everton. Never mind. How are you enjoying Arsenal, quote unquote, being back after, let's face it, 18 years of being a banter club?
It's harsh but fair. It's a weird situation to be in because there are times when I find it obviously really, really enjoyable watching some of the football we're playing, the way we're attacking is like really exhilarating to watch. And there are other times when, like for a lot of the time I've supported Arsenal, there hasn't been a huge amount on the line. I mean, obviously Champions League football is very important, but we haven't been competing for titles for most of my life. And there are times when I'm like, guys, this is all a little bit too much. I don't like. There's so much on every game now that I find myself getting like really quite anxious, which isn't like an enjoyable state to be in watching a game. I mean, overall, I enjoy not having the piss taken out of me on Twitter every kind of day, which is
up your game, Chuck.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. I was leaving him for a bit, giving him some time to build himself back up again.
But do you genuinely think you'd be enjoying it more if you were in second, Adam? I mean, like that's what it sounds like. You sound like you'd be enjoying it more if you were chasing, and there was a good chance,
it's
but
less pressure.
You were chasing. Whereas the fact that your people are starting to believe now,
that's the thing. It was sort of that weird situation where up until a few, probably even as recently as the North London derby win, I was thinking, I don't think we'll win it. I mean, it looks like we'll qualify for the Champions League, which was the goal at the start of the season. So I'm very happy with that being the case. And then almost as soon as we won the North London derby, I suddenly thought, hang on a second, we might actually be able to do it. And whereas previously people have been saying, Arsenal were in the title race, I was sort of a bit like, I'm not too sure about that. I fancy City to kind of turn this gap around. As soon as we won that game, I was suddenly very surprised any time anyone was dismissing Arsenal in the title race. So that game had a really kind of big switch in my mind.
Yeah, it's funny because last time we saw you at the pub before the World Cup, and you were very dismissive of any Arsenal title talk. It was just, I don't want to hear about this. I don't want you talking about this, and it was very dismissive. But it took that game to win you round. So yeah, I mean it does seem like, well, I mean, let's go to 538, which is the prediction of choice
of
on
numbers.
this. Yeah, 63% to win the Premier League, more likely than not. That's quite incredible. And you're obviously 5 points ahead now with a game in hand. You still have to play City twice in the league. Is that right?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot riding on both of those games because obviously this, you used to talk about 6 pointers. I mean, fucking hell. That could be a big swing and affect those percentages massively. But like they've got their points predictions at the minute of Arsenal finishing on 87 and Man City finishing on 83. I mean, that's winning it with 4 points would be all right, wouldn't it? I mean,
winning it at all would be fine by me, to be honest. I'm not too fussed. Points margin.
I was going to say, fuck it, win it on goal difference, win it on transfers made. Trust me, it still feels as good. Sorry, Jeff. Again, stray shots there.
But I mean, we're halfway through our season now. Arsenal have ticked over to play 19 games, and we're on 50 points. And I don't think any Arsenal side has ever been on that amount at the halfway stage.
No, I'm pretty sure I saw something that this is the most points Arsenal.
There's only one team that's been at this point and not finished first, and that was Liverpool a few years ago when Man City had their fucking insane season.
The 97, 98 point season, something for both of them.
Yeah,
it was 1 point, wasn't it?
Yeah, all the portenses are good. Is that a word? But
portents.
Yeah, fine. I mean, it might be a word.
Portents is already pluralised, so you don't need to pluralise it again.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
That's what they tune in for. Grammar lessons.
Vocabulary hour. I couldn't even say vocabulary.
Amazing. A portmanteau of. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull out all the words I can.
What is this? Well, let's take this game, I guess, the most recent game in microcosm, because I think it's a really good kind of summary of Arsenal season. Arsenal 3, Manchester United 2. Obviously a late Eddie Nketiah winner, unbelievable, coming from behind in that game. And not just that, but the XG on FBref has it as 3.1 to 0.4. I mean, is there any more kind of revelation or representation of how Arsenal have been by the fact that Eddie Nketiah is starring in this Arsenal team right now? Like, Arteta's transformation of it is kind of finally coming massively into fruition. Yeah,
I think I put in the Slack, you and I were talking about this, Jack. His kind of growth as a player over the past 12 months is remarkable, considering this time last year he had 6 months left on his contract, and a lot of Arsenal fans were like, oh God, we better kind of ship him out because he's going to leave on a free. We need to get some money for him. And obviously this time last year, I'm not sure if Aubameyang had gone yet, but he was on the way out, and Lacazette had just dropped off.
Yeah, it feels like a roundabout now. A year ago.
And Lacazette just dropped off a cliff. So the only reason Nketiah ever really got into the Arsenal side was because of a complete lack of other options. And he obviously performed very well at the back end of last season. But development in his all-round game, I think, this season, I suppose even more so, we've been able to see it since Jesus got injured after the World Cup.
Yeah.
Is really, really impressive, because I always thought of him as a penalty box striker, good at sort of tap-ins and a good finisher, but the kind of striker that felt a little bit outdated, that you don't really see too many of anymore. But his sort of improvement in his physicality and his hold-up play and his movement off the ball, the way he's able to link up, particularly with Saka, I think he's got a really good connection with, is so impressive, the way he's improved. And yeah, like you say, it's kind of a nice summation of the ways that Arteta has been able to improve this Arsenal side. is kind of the abilities that he's thriving in now.
I mean, you mentioned Gabriel Jesus there, and anyone that plays fantasy football will know how much he was being celebrated and the key to this Arsenal attack and everything. And I think it's really telling that he hasn't been in the team since the World Cup, and this is still how you're performing. Similarly, Zinchenko, who has obviously come straight back in and been incredible.
So good, yeah.
But these players can now just drop in, and Arsenal haven't been struggling without them. I mean, you've lost one game this season, drawn 2.
And even that loss was against Man United at Old Trafford, and I still think, I don't know if we were the better side that day, and it still annoys me that they won that game, because if you remember, that was one where Martin Odegaard took the ball off Ericsson, I think it was, in the centre of the park, and he slightly tugged on his shirt, played it through to Martinelli.
The foul that never was.
Yeah. And I probably shouldn't still be angry about that, but I am. And yes, so even that loss I don't think was not necessarily deserved. Maybe we could have gotten a draw out of that game. But yeah, I mean, like our other kind of poor performances, I can maybe think of against Leeds, I think, and we ended up winning that game, Leeds away.
Yeah.
We were pretty bad and we scraped a 1-0 thanks to a Saka great goal. And we weren't that good against Southampton away either. We drew that one, but we had the chances to win. And normally I'm kind of picking out 1 or 2 good Arsenal games at halfway point in the season, and now I'm picking out 1 or 2, not even necessarily bad ones, but ones where we haven't been at our
where
best.
The result's not been exactly what you would have liked from the performance. That is quite a change for Arsenal, isn't it? And I think this game really did epitomise that change in Arsenal, in that you just don't. You're like a dog with a bone. Like when it comes to it, when this game was 2-2, I was watching it, and I had. As you know, Chuck, I had quite a good betting day on, quite a good betting weekend. So I had Arsenal as part of an accumulated, literally just an Arsenal win as part of a fourfold from 9 selections thing going on. And at that point, I'd had a few good ones come in. So I was like, I can lay it. I can lay the bet and bet on a draw and Man United. So then when it was 2-2, and I'd watched about 15 minutes of Arsenal absolutely fucking battering them, and I was like, right, I'm done with this. I'm gonna cash out that Man United draw stroke Man United double chance, whatever they call it, bet. Cash that out, and then 2 minutes later, Arsenal got the winner, and everything worked out for me. But it was just because I was like, they are not going to survive any longer than this. It was inevitable. It genuinely felt inevitable that Arsenal would get that winner, and that's certainly for me, because I used to love watching Man United. I've talked about it on the pod before. Man United Arsenal used to be a match I used to always make sure I was in the pub at for my uni years, because it was fucking great. The atmosphere was always good. So for me, it was great to see a brilliant Arsenal Man United match again, but one where in the previous 10 years, for instance, we've talked about how Arsenal have been a bit soft and have let their heads go down, and sometimes the fans have been had some responsibility with that. The Emirates has not been a brilliant atmosphere sometimes when Arsenal have been going down, but no longer. This is just it genuinely felt inevitable that Arsenal would get this winner. I didn't doubt it when it was 2-2, and you just saw them just knocking on the door constantly, and that is a huge change for Arsenal. And we've, it's been mentioned where even when they concede, right, get the ball back to the centre circle, we're fucking off. They seem angry that they've conceded. Arsenal used to just be passive about that sort of stuff.
Well, they
and
had
it's no longer.
On Match of the Day too, they had Troy Deeney, and Mark Chapman asked him after doing the Arsenal game about his cojones comment, a few years ago, that famous post-match or pre-match, whatever it was, and it was completely right then. You just knew how to make Arsenal crumble. There was a game with Palace around that point where I think Benteke absolutely bullied the other. Was there another Gabriel and Mustafi? Well, I mean Mustafi,
Gabriel Paulista and Mustafi. I was at the Emirates for that game.
Oh, blimey.
There you go. And just it was so easy, and now it just doesn't seem like that. I mean, Ben White obviously had an off day. Judging by what
that's
everyone
a good
said.
point, Chuck. You can have a player and he had a bad half. He really did. You can have a player do that and still beat Man United because a decisive change was made. Because I don't think it was an injury, was it? It was a genuine.
He was booked, but like you say, he had a really quite a poor half by his high standards for the season.
But then you can bring Tomiyasu in, and he had a good half, and it not sort of derail anything, It was a very impressive performance, I thought.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think even when I'll try and present some form of impartiality. When Arsenal went,
why?
Don't worry about it.
That's not. We don't do that here.
Fair enough.
Not a problem.
When Arsenal went 2-1 up in sort of years gone by, even though I was talking earlier about the kind of nerves I feel now in these games, in years gone by, I would have been like, okay, just like shut up shop, desperate not to concede. But the sort of relentless pressure Arsenal were putting on in the final third, I was like, I feel like we're going to win it now. And even though the United equaliser was a bit of a hammer blow, because I think it was probably a bit of a Ramsdale mistake, poor attempt to claim a corner and just sort of dropping it to Lisandro Martinez. But even then, like you say, Ian, the pressure that we were putting on in that last sort of 20, 15 minutes was such that I thought I kind of trusted the players that they will create enough chances where they should score, and thankfully they did.
I think that's a good subject to kind of pivot slightly onto the Man United side of it, that what you say there about how you would feel about Arsenal a couple of years ago kind of feels like United now. I mean, I don't think anyone can doubt the work that Ten Hag has done. I'm calling him Ten Hag. Look at that.
Yeah, we've had to
technically should be 5 Hag now, I think. But I'm seeing past it, guys. I'm rounding up to 10.
Growth.
But I think that's kind of right, because we recorded before the Palace game, and it kind of felt the same as this, that like Man United didn't push to go for that killer blow at all. Granted, they're away from home, and the Emirates is a completely different beast from how it was 2 seasons ago. Now, like, the fans actually get behind the team and are creating that atmosphere. And I mean, I couldn't watch Arsenal games because the quietness of the crowd used to wind me up. Like, genuinely, it just didn't feel right watching the game. But United are kind of on that same path as Arteta came in, and so I just think I just found that really interesting. You can see the comparisons there with a team that is still a bit fragile, even if Dr. Sir Marcus is having a bloody lovely time, and the highest scoring Englishman this year or whatever it is, and 9 goals in 8.
Yeah, the parallels. Sorry, I was just saying the parallels are really it's a good point to raise, because in the similar sort of way to Arsenal were when Arteta first came in, a lot of the attack was relying on counters and then Aubameyang pulling out kind of an individual piece of excellent finishing. You sort of feel a little bit like that with United at the moment. They've obviously got Bruno in midfield, who's a little bit more creatively capable than some of the midfielders Arsenal had when Arteta first sort of took over. But it does feel like a lot is riding on Rashford to pull something out of the bag in the final third. But what Ten Hag has done, and what Arteta did as well, is he's shored up United defensively and solidified their midfield base quite a lot more, I think.
They're still happier in possession than out of it, though. Like, I think when they're out of possession, they do sometimes look a little bit panicked still. I think there's definitely been strides made in organisation, without a doubt. But I think, whereas, for instance, maybe they're a bad example at the minute, but certainly in previous seasons, when Man City have, if it's ever happened, given up possession, within 5-6 seconds, you can see the defensive shape solidifying. I'm not getting that with Man United quite yet. It takes them much longer to sort of realise, and when you're dealing with an attack like Arsenal, the speed at which they attack and Saka and that, it was pretty clear that when they did lose possession, they were in trouble pretty quickly. Yeah, but Ten Hag's only. I've been harsh on him in the past. I'm gonna cut him some slack now because of how well he's done, albeit against a lot of maybe slightly more mid-table opponents, but still, I think he deserves some plaudits, but I still think it's in evidence that they are happier when they're keeping possession, and against Arsenal, that's not going to happen, you know.
Adam, happy Leandro Trossard?
I'm very happy, very, very happy. It doesn't sound like an incredibly kind of wanky football Twitter hipster thing to say, but when he was at Genk, I was before he joined Brighton, there was rumours that Arsenal were after him in the January of the summer he joined, and I did the classic thing of watching a few YouTube compilations and was convinced he was the next kind of best thing. And I've always liked him as a player. I think he's very intelligent. Mm-hmm. He's very versatile as well. And obviously, as much as you might hate to admit this, Chuck, coming from Brighton, he's used to very tactically adept coaches and tactically.
He doesn't play for Brighton anymore, so I can be complimentary.
So you can like him. Okay, that's good. But I think he's a very, very good player and offering us depth in a position that I think we desperately need it, because our attack is kind of threadbare at the moment, especially with Jesus. Looks like he's probably going to be out for another couple of months, and Smith Rowe's only just coming back to fitness.
Yeah.
A very, very good league ready reinforcement. Whereas,
I think that's key. I think it hit right in that perfect sweet spot of someone who can contribute to this Arsenal team in a slightly longer term, as well as being good for right now. You know, if you look at the fee itself, what was it touted about 27 million? You can kind of understand. Okay, he had, you know, I mean, I think Brighton could have extended his contract, so I think the whole last year of contract stuff was a bit rubbish. So I think he sits right in the perfect ground of a deal done really well. Especially when
that's a hell of a fee. I was a little bit sceptical, but I was like, why are they going for him? I mean, Adam raises some good points there, because obviously the one thing, and we've talked about it, that could derail Arsenal is injury problems. Whereas Man City feel like they've got a second 11 ready to go. You know, Arsenal could be derailed with injury problems. I was still a little bit sceptical about Trossard, but then when I saw it, like you say, about sort of in the mid-20s for the transfer fee, I was like, fucking hell, yeah, of course, they bit their hand off. I can see why.
Well, and especially when the kind of big alternative being touted was Mudryk, and he went for 100 million in the end, and you think
it's almost like you teed up that perfect segue, Adam. You've been doing this before. Yeah, you know, you could have gone for Mudryk, who obviously he had a 15-minute cameo. I mean, I guess, Chelsea 0, Liverpool 0. Thank you for that wonderful Arsenal chat as well. But you know, you're going to be here multiple weeks, so you're not getting that long all the time.
Get it out of the way.
But you know, Man United being mugged off, I'm here for it. Liverpool 1.4 xg, Chelsea 1.6 xg. Weirdly, 0-0. The most championship game of championship games I've seen in the league, between two teams that are meant to be good. And that Mudryk guy's fast, I guess. Do you think maybe the Twitter discourse is getting ahead of itself a little bit by saying how much of an incredible player he's going to be?
I think it was just compared to what we had watched for the previous 60 minutes or so. It was such when I say it was boring, I was kind of actively trying to find other interesting things in my flat to take my attention away from it. It is such a low quality game for the kind of storied calibre of that fixture, especially when you think about the Champions League ties that have happened between the two and the kind of high drama that we've seen in the past. It was just such a poor quality in terms of spectacle, but also I thought that technical quality to look at some of the players and the way they were misplacing passes or the lack of control they sometimes had. It was just very disappointing. It
just felt really sad.
It did,
was just
in a
really
way.
sad. Yeah, and I felt sorry for him in a way. Just like, what have you become? It's like, you know, walking in on someone just sat there in their pants, empty beer cans all around them, pizza boxes and all that. Like, what have you what have you become?
Yeah, you were very good about that. Thanks, mate. You got me some help. It was really nice of you.
It was my words of encouragement. Speaking of words of encouragement, I mean, he's not here, but obviously he wanted to get a 30-second spot on. I mean, he's done 39 seconds, but, you know, we won't hold him against him. So here's words from our transatlantic friend.
Hey, it's Oscar here with another report from Chelsea Island. I'm old enough to remember when Chelsea versus Liverpool was a good match between two elite teams and not whatever the fuck that was over the weekend. Boring. The answer is boring. It was boring. So, I don't know. There's that. We signed another winger, probably another two. I don't know. It's hard to keep track. But the only good thing is that Chile and Reese are back. Do not be tempted into putting them in your FPL team. That is a bad idea. But we might be decent for a few weeks while they're around until they inevitably get hurt again. So, yay, Chelsea, ? Also, hi, Adam. You're doing a great job. Proud of you.
Oh,
Lovely. There's some lovely parting words there as well.
That's condescending.
It feels a bit,
Patronising.
but you know, it's so far removed from the punching bag times.
That's true.
we've come a long way. We've come a long way.
Yeah, we've got. Oh, what a journey we've been on. Oscar indeed alludes to two wingers because Chelsea not only signed Mikhailo Mudryk, carrying on the repetitive initials that Todd Bowley loves, but also signed Noni Madueke from PSV, another winger, because they needed more for about 40 million or so.
On a 40-year contract.
40-year, 8-year FC, leading UEFA to change the rules because of how they're just clearly overspending in a
Oscar
don't give a
took that
shit about
well
the future
in the
way.
WhatsApp, didn't he, Chuck? He took that very well.
Yeah, he was so bitter about it. Oh, well, PSG and Man City can do it, but no, Juventus can do it. I was like, yeah, but Juventus have got criminal proceedings. Yeah, Bolly, someone needs to take the keys off him. Tell him to calm down a minute. They're still going. Like we said before, Anthony Gordon maybe. Amadou Onana, Moises Caicedo leading Brighton to do what they did with Cucurella again and put out an interview saying how he's not going anywhere. Remember how that lasted, guys? Who else? Enzo Fernandez of World Cup fame, potentially. Just 120 million they might drop on him. I
mean, even with the incredibly long contracts, I said it last week, they're going to have to sell some players and it's going to be under market value, you would have thought. There's going to be some bargains going at Chelsea just because they're going to have to get people off the books, surely. Even with the crazy long contracts, you know, because I presume once they're locked in, even with the UEFA change of rules, that'll only be on transfers going forward. I presume they can't amend contracts that have already been, you know, done. I just, even with those long contracts, with the amount of money we're talking, surely they've got to get rid of some players. And I just wonder who, because like you say, all the talent they've bought has been in the attacking areas. So what? Who are they going to lose? I just don't know how this is all going to.
Yeah, a lot of talk about Pulisic, Ziyech, Aubameyang getting shipped out already. I've seen some stuff about Sterling already being looked at being sold. Yeah, which is mad. I just think there's got to be some form of fire sale. They're up to the point. I mean, a lot of these players are so young that they're not counted in the squad. The squad allowance that you get, whatever it is, the 26-man squad you can name. But they've just got too many players. It's like we were talking about Nottingham Forest needing them, but Chelsea already had a squad. Like, I get it, they've got injuries, but all of their players come back, and it's like, where do they go?
And also,
do they need a bigger coach?
Well, that's the thing. It's like they've got too many players, but they still need to sign a midfielder. It's not like they've kind of filled out their squad appropriately. At least with Nottingham Forest, they've bought all of the players in all of the positions, so they're well stocked. But Chelsea they've bought badly, if that makes sense. They've just bought loads of attackers, and they haven't.
I mean, they've gone Everton. He's gone full Everton.
That is true. Yeah. And they both wear blue.
Yeah, both wear blue. Like, that's...
Coincidence?
Yes.
If you've even lost Chuck on a conspiracy theory, you're in trouble. Fucking hell.
Give it time. I can't, throw them all out there. But yeah, I think I really worry about the 8-year deal stuff, the 7.5-year deals, because these players that they're going to be on big money if they're doing that. And you're going to get these players where 4 years down the line, potentially, Chelsea will have gone through another 2 managers, and they're going to have these players that they just can't ship because they're effectively going to have the value of players that are at the start of a 5-year contract if they're really that good. Like, I do understand getting resale value for these players once they hit like 25, 27, 28, like those kind of ages. But I mean, the way European football's going, like, no one's going to be able to afford to buy them. Barcelona will be out of business by the time Mudrik's contract ends. All the Juventus guys will be 8 years into a life sentence. The French league would have folded, but it will just be the PSG Memorial League, and Kylian Mbappe will lord over it all.
Already is. Yeah.
It's just going to be... the landscape of football is going to be so different that I just think it just feels really dumb. Like, there's clearly a reason why this hasn't been done before, and I don't think it's not been done in, like, because it's a clever way of doing the business. I don't know. But also, it's not my money, like Oscar says. Not my fucking money. Not even my club.
Chelsea's spending of money seems baked into the club now, but this does seem next level, and it does make you wonder because obviously Bowley's seemingly taken charge of a lot of this. I mean, there's been word that there's other people involved in recruitment now, but they even if it was just, let's say it was just Todd Bowley doing it all himself, like he can read newspapers. He can listen.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Can he?
I'm making a big
I
assumption.
believe he first suggested that they should play a 4-4-3 formation.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we can't count, but he might be able to read, or listen to a podcast where everyone has been saying that they are overspending on attacking players. This is not what they need, and it just seems like a real forget an understanding of football, just an understanding of English. Just that people are telling you this.
It's me on FIFA career mode. Like, it really is. That just feels like what it is. You press the thing to get, to pretend your club got bought out. You get $1 billion in transfer money, and you just buy everything, and then worry about it later. That kind of because all those players they've got, like, I'm not entirely sure on all the contract situations, but what if Sterling just like, no, I'm happy here. Like, I've just settled, I've just moved. This is where I want to be.
He's from London originally, so that's not out of the question.
No, and I know there's been a lot of issues for him with his house, the break-in at his house during the World Cup and that kind of stuff. Aubameyang signed a few years. What if he doesn't want to move from London? He's only
there's
just
nothing to
moved
stop
back.
these players just going, that's all right, just sit it out, cheers. Keep the money rolling in, I'll turn up to training. Yeah. No worries.
Like, it can easily create a very difficult situation, so I don't know, I'll grab the popcorn and enjoy that. As a
neutral, I genuinely am. I'm enjoying. I enjoy watching good football, and this was not. But just on a wider thing, I'm enjoying the fact that big clubs are mid-table, and that you're Brighton. I mean, obviously, I don't like how Newcastle have done it.
But you're plucky little underdogs like Newcastle, Saudi state back. The heartwarming
tiny
story.
atom that dared to dream.
No, let's. I'm no fan of the Saudi regime. Let me make that clear. But it is. Just anything that mixes it up is fun. Like I'm even enjoying Arsenal being top because it mixes it up. It's all just something that hasn't been seen in the last few years. So sign me up. Obviously,
we have not seen Man City coming up behind a team like an absolute fucking freight train with a
but it's not been
shield.
Arsenal, and Newcastle haven't been behind it. Man United have been shit. I'm not enjoying seeing Man United be better, but Man United have been shit. This is just like there are 8 teams that you would expect to be up for Champions League, a chance of Champions League football, and it's not going to happen for all of them. It can only happen for half of them, and that's fun. That's more fun than it's been in a while. Like the wider league, there's lots of good managers in there. There's lots of good players playing for previously mid-table teams. I think it's fun. I think it's a lot of fun. The league this year. I'm enjoying it as a neutral, definitely.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said. I mean, the downfall is fun. Liverpool. Do we have anything really to say about Liverpool that's any different? It just feels so consistent now. Like, they brought in Gakpo. Hasn't really changed much. They're in a similar situation to Chelsea where they need a midfield Van Dijk's.
But they're not going to spend any money this January.
Yeah, that does seem to be the big difference. Liverpool are not, like, you don't even really see them linked with anybody. That kind of, and God, the press will link Liverpool with practically any player on the earth. But
it's Bellingham. Bellingham is the big one, isn't it? Really, let's face it.
I don't know how they do the deal without selling someone though.
And certainly not if they don't finish in the Champions League places. Like, why would Bellingham do? I mean, obviously Liverpool have had an excellent recent track record, and a sort of, you would back them to come back from this, but Bellingham needs to be playing Champions League footballs, and he'll have other offers.
Yeah.
Like Real Madrid is the other big link. So I think if he had the choice between the two in the summer and Liverpool aren't in the Champions League, it's a pretty easy decision to make.
Yeah, definitely. A player like Bellingham who's not exactly wedded to playing in England, obviously, so why not? There's definitely other competitors that you would go to other than Liverpool at the minute. I don't know what changes with Liverpool for the rest of the season. To be honest, it's going to be interesting to see if they get any.
Far off the top, 21 points off.
They're so far, yeah. But it's the summer that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting whether they get any extra investment or even a full sale. Their FSG is saying it's not full sale we're after, but let's be honest. If a good offer came in, I think they're ready to cash out. And it's going to be an interesting summer for Liverpool, but it ain't going to be an interesting rest of the season for them. I think they're going to be like this for a while. It's going to be. There will be some regression to the mean, I imagine, but they're not going to be challenging the Champions League spaces.
I was about to say, are we at that point where now, halfway through the season, even Champions League football, they're 10 points off Man United in fourth? Is that...
Ian, go to the percentages. I know you got them up.
I just did, and I'm actually surprised. Liverpool are still like 29% at 538. Wow. You've got them in fifth. Now, admittedly, your next one up is Newcastle at 55%, so more likely than not. But it's just you got so Liverpool 29%, Tottenham 22%, and Brighton 22%.
Could be the FA Cup situation where the team, obviously, the teams for Europe, it could put in another team in the league. You know what I mean? That gets through, or because they're still in the they're still in the Champions League as well. So if you win the Champions League, you get through. And they'll probably still be fancied in that. That will affect all your percentages. FA Cup is Europa League, isn't it? You get that. But it still could pivot and switch the games around. But yeah, like Adam said at the start, we're halfway through the season now. We're at a really good spot that's indicative of how these teams, if they perform the same way they have. But underlying numbers, they're fourth. It's fairly tight. Fourth, Man United in fifth, just behind them. Then Brighton just behind that.
Yeah.
There's about 0.1 of a goal per 90 between them, but 0.1 of an expected goal.
But the thing is,
90.
you can talk about these stats all you like, and we do.
But football's played on grass, isn't it, by men?
I don't want to do that, but let's just look at the league though. You said 10 points behind the fourth place team. Well, yeah, they're also 7 points behind Tottenham. There's Brighton ahead of them.
Yeah.
There's Brentford ahead of them. There's Fulham ahead of them. There's teams. I know that no one expects Fulham to
there's only one fixture. Like there's three. One win in that block takes them above all those teams, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, there are a lot of teams and there are points.
Yeah.
There are points to make up, and that is what you've got to do. And Liverpool don't show any signs yet. If there were signs of life, I'd go, yep, fair enough. Liverpool might scrape it back. I just don't see any signs of life, so I don't know where the 29% comes from.
And it's also, if we're going to look at it, you think about how much we've spoken about Tottenham and not knowing what they are and seeing like they're feeling like they're a bit abject and the second half kind of switching on syndrome. And granted, there's games in hand difference, but we've been really harsh on them, and they're still 7 points ahead of them.
It's true.
Tottenham in fifth, so. I do think we've kind of gone easy on Liverpool because they're just, statistically, they're okay, but they just look bad. I mean, Salah's been awful compared to how he is. Salah's regressed to his Chelsea performances. Was Sadio Mane really the absolute key in that? Did that mean, having that winger that can bomb on. And I know they've got big injuries. Luis Diaz has been a huge miss and Diogo Jota has.
Yeah.
But even before that, they weren't a great shakes. Remember early in the season? I still think that Palace missed. Núñez got sent off and went down to 10, and we held on for a draw. Like, now on the balance of the season as a whole, I'm going to say, like, that seems like a poor result for Palace. Should have done more, considering that Liverpool have won 8 out of 19 games. So, Chelsea and Liverpool, massive, massive regression. And like you said, Chelsea are kind of spending now to do it. But do we see, Liverpool got rid of a lot of analytics and that kind of stuff? Eesh.
Yeah,
not looking
doesn't
good.
seem good. More than a quarter of their goals came against Bournemouth in that one game in August.
Yeah, that 9-0 when they were back.
Yeah, it's just insane, isn't it? But other than that one game, they've been terrible in front of goal, and it's just, it doesn't show any signs of recovery. Yeah.
Otherwise, other places in the league, I mean, Aston Villa getting a 1-0 win, Emery doing good things, really, at Aston Villa. Aston Villa, or Villa, if we're going to go for the Basque pronunciation.
And why wouldn't we?
Well, yeah.
Big in the Basque country. That's why I had.
Big in the Basque. We all like big at the Basque. The shock result, I guess, really, of the week. Leicester pulling a 2-2 out against Brighton after everyone's been lauding them. No Burnleys this week. I guess, Tottenham 0.9 to Fulham's 1.0, or Palace's 0.3 to Newcastle's 1.2, and a 0-0. I don't really have a lot to say about this. It's nice to get another point after a point against Man United, and I love Michael Elise. He does a bloody good free kick. Incredibly shock results. I did not expect those 2 points from those two games, so that's good. Although I think it changed our relegation percentage from 6 to 5, so it shows you how congested things are down there. What with Jared
you're still
Bowen,
6. You're still 6.
We're still 6. Oh, so we went from 7 to 6, maybe, or
okay,
it was the other. I can't remember.
Right.
There was Leeds Brentford 0-0. Man City, are they back? Question mark.
Erling Haaland's making City worse. Goes on to
It's
score
the
a hat-trick.
discourse.
Oh, it's insane. He's made them better, but also made them worse. He has now won. If you put his goals across every Premier League season, he would have won 16 Golden Boots. And he's played 19 games.
That is insane.
His fourth hat-trick in, 25 games. 20 games in. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy's record was about 70 games to hit 40. It's ridiculous. Absolute freak. I guess the main thing that we've seen from Guardiola, we know he's been a bit batshit over the years, but kind of coming out and saying he doesn't recognise his team, doesn't recognise the passion, that fight, that kind of stuff, doesn't, geeing up the crowd. He's been known in the past to tell people to go out and make sure they fill the stadium and that kind of thing, and that he'd prefer them to boo than to be silent. Do we think maybe that's because of him seeing the impact that Arteta's had at the Emirates and the atmosphere and that kind of extra gain for him?
I think it might be a little bit of that, but I think also Guardiola's the kind of character, like you say, does come out with some kind of batshit stuff, but when things aren't going wrong, or when things aren't going right, and they are going wrong, because he is so meticulous in his preparation and his tactics, and he plans everything out to the nth degree, he does sort of flail around a little bit and kind of grasp at tactical and literal straws to try and solve the problem. And I sort of feel like the effectively calling out the crowd for not being loud enough is how I read it. That sort of felt like that was to me, even though it sort of is a little bit true. The Etihad now Arsenal fans have sort of stopped booing their own players. The Etihad is probably
very gracious of them.
Very kind. The Etihad probably is the kind of most sort of quiet place in the league, other than Fulham. But at Fulham, everyone's just nice, so I think we give them a pass.
They're all busy. They've all got Victoria Sponge in their mouth and cheese boards.
Yeah, they're all trying to get the angles right, and so they can divide it among all the crowd. Yeah,
but I think
just someone with a cake protractor.
I used to be in a band called Cake Protractor.
You did? Yeah. Was that before or after the Caravan of Chaos?
So many bands.
So many bands, so little time. Yeah, well, it's uncharted territory really for Pep because we've never seen him at a club for this long before. It does feel like we saw it kind of with Poch and those managers that are very almost like cultish in their way. Like you really have to buy into the principles and that, and because you get fatigued by it. And so I'm wondering if we're going to see potential like shake-ups at City and sales of players that we wouldn't expect, perhaps, and a few moving on. I mean, look! All of a sudden, how Joao Cancelo has just been dropped. Like, apropos of nothing. And I've seen a few games of Rico Lewis, and he's doing incredibly well for a 17, 18-year-old. Like, there is no doubt that guy's going to be great. But, like, right now, he's not better than Cancelo. So I just find it weird because he's almost doing that in a way that, like, he wasn't doing previously with, like, Phil Foden, for example, when everyone was saying he should be playing him a few years ago. So I don't know, perhaps there's going to be some sort of mass clear out, especially with Chelsea spending all this money. Like,
and an Arsenal title win would fucking light a fire under him again, wouldn't it? Because I do sometimes think Guardiola gets a bit bored and just does mad shit.
Yeah,
like,
this is shit.
I do, and I've sometimes wondered whether he might just, call it at City and just go, I'm done now, I've done that. Let's, take a year off and then do what I want, do the next thing.
Yeah.
But an Arsenal title win might just go, nah, fuck that. Let's
I
try
don't
and
know.
reinvent this again.
I think he'd come out and go, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
He'd find a way to take credit for it, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, he'll like say, oh, it's like, I won it like adjacent. Or, it's because
take
of
it as
me.
a victory. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's mad as well. Like it's Arteta's first fucking job as well. Sorry, just to go back to Arsenal. I don't really want to, but Adam's here, so I'll be kind. It's his first fucking job. Insane what he's done there. So, okay, well, yeah, City done. They're probably going to win the league. Let's face it. And Jared Bowen.
Oh, Jared Bowen, yeah.
Jared Bowen. For those that don't know, we do a differential pick on our FPL podcast each week where we have to pick a player owned by less than 10% of people. Ian picked Jared Bowen this week, and I told him he was an absolute fucking idiot. There's a reason why you're about 80 points ahead of me now for the season. It's not even close. Putting the death knell in the coffin of...
Just target Everton. Just
Frank Lampard. Everton should get Big Duncan, for fuck's sake. Just scream at everyone.
Will happen, right?
It worked. It worked last time. Has Moisey done enough to kind of stay his execution?
Yeah, because I think West Ham will probably be okay. That's the thing. It's one of them, like, West Ham always felt like they were too big to go down until they did. But genuinely, when you look at this Premier League, you look at the teams down there and you think you've got Everton, you've got Bournemouth, you've got Southampton, you've got Wolves, Forest, all feel like better contenders to go down than West Ham, just because of the quality of the squad. And yeah, it's not been clicking and it's not been great, but 18 months ago we were talking about how fucking great it looked. So it's just sort of... it's tricky. I think he's a good enough manager, and I think West Ham have got a good enough squad that it won't be a problem. It's not been working lately, but I don't think they'll go down. So I don't think they'll be even in the relegation, mix up when it comes to your 38th game. I don't think they'll be anywhere near it, to be honest. I think they'll be firmly mid-table. And this Everton game came at a good time for West Ham, because it was a gimme, and Everton games might continue to be gimmies depending on who they get.
Well, I would agree with you on West Ham. I do think they'll probably be all right, and like you say, their squad is actually quite good, and certainly too good to be in that relegation battle. I do still think Moyes' time at West Ham might be up. Like, it almost feels like the squad is evolving beyond him. Like, you look at players like Paqueta, Scamacca, even someone like Fornals, they don't really feel like David Moyes style players. They feel like they've been brought in to play a different style of football.
But do you think the game has just evolved beyond Moyes, like, generally?
Well, that's possible as well. And that's why, because I think West Ham, there's some new ownership coming in. At some point, there's been rumours of a takeover. And I feel like at the end of this season might be a good time for Moyes to sort of step away, because we shouldn't forget, before he took this job, his reputation was really almost in tatters, really, after the failures at United and Real Sociedad.
And this is the first time at West Ham as well. Like, it hadn't gone well. Like, it was very surprising when he came back and did so as well as he did.
So, I feel like in the summer would be a good time for him to sort of step away with his reputation amongst the West Ham fans and the kind of wider footballing public restored to probably where it should be, where the leap to the United job definitely came too early. But he's a good sort of mid to upper mid-table Premier League manager, I think.
Well, he can go to Everton and get him back in the Premier League next season. So. It's written in the stars, isn't it?
Yeah, a difficult few for West Ham, by the way. It's Newcastle, Chelsea, Tottenham. Well, I say difficult, Chelsea. That'll be an easy win. So, ones to watch there. Mentioned FPL there, I guess. I'll talk about FPL. I don't want to. My game week rank was 7.4 million. 62 points for the week. Thanks, guys. Ian, what did you get?
I don't know. I know mine. No, I know my rank was about 6.5 million for the game week. I've been since the World Cup. I've been absolutely shocking.
I beat you by a point.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, so mine was lower then. Fucking hell, Jesus Christ. Oh, did I take a hit? Of course I did. Yep. Okay, that hit was actually quite good, and I still managed to fuck it up because I went Salah and Martial to Odegaard and Kane, and I still managed to get a fucking shocking game week rank. Awful FPL player. Don't listen to me. Don't pay the Patreon. Just terrible.
Don't. Finishing on 69 points for the week. Adam, good week for you, mate. Lovely.
You could probably see my overall rank is almost exactly 2 million. I'm having an absolute horror of a season. It's
I'm up in my ivory tower on 2 million.
that's when we're saying that, Chuck, we're in a bad way.
3.6 million. Oof.
Yeah, I'm about 2.7.
But there's 11 million players now, so this is like a top 10k season 5 years ago.
Big
so
time.
It's fine.
Time. Yeah.
It's inflation, isn't it?
Yeah, I got bored, activated my wild card, so that's where I'm at now.
Okay, 2 weeks to think about it.
Yeah, no. I thought about it one day, and that was enough for me. We'll go to the Mophead League, which I still haven't closed. In 10th, 79-point game week, Tanmay Gudikar with Pjanic attack. Gerald Griffith in 9th, 82. Nice, Zaha. Oh yes, Zaha's injured. Shit, I forgot that. Baby Jota, Gabriel Penalosa in 8th. Vinley. Still wish you didn't have an emoji as your team name. 82 points.
Gonna have to get that on the soundboard, aren't I?
No. I like doing it every time. I love Dolly Parton. McGinn and Tonic. Johnny Worthington in 6th. Swapnil Pandey with Mike Lol, brackets Twitter, brackets 81 in 5th. Change name, Kieran Hartnett in 4th. Sam Dan Balambi holding firm in 3rd place, 76-point week, 77 for Pad Fall, being knocked off the top spot by Toby Ackland and Rubberdina Rapids on 13.21. Where is Toby in the world? Toby is 48,000th. Wow. Can only dream. I remember when I nearly got in the top 10k last year. Eventually I'll remember to close that league, or you can join it. The winner will get a mystery cert. Now, Oscar's not here, so I guess no quiz about him. Unless, Adam, you've decided to presume to do yourself a self-indulgent quiz?
No, I figured it would be a little bit self-indulgent for a sort of guest hosting appearance to then just suddenly dedicate an entire section to myself. But I have done a quiz.
He's done a quiz! Oh, play the music!
Don't expect you to sing along, Adam, don't worry.
Sing, you bastard!
Dance for me.
Yeah, dance monkey, right. Go on then, what's your quiz, Adam?
He's in a Stranger Things hoodie and nothing else. He's Adam P.
So, obviously it's very sad that Oscar can't be with us, but Oscars are in the news because the Oscars were announced today, the Oscar nominations. So I've done a football film related quiz.
Oh, God.
Okay, right. I was going to say, I don't know who's got nominated any Oscars.
Right. This has got Liverpool-Chelsea 0-0 written all over it. Okay, go on.
Escape to Victory.
No,
Goal.
okay, so this is about famous footballers in films.
Okay.
So, question number 1. Which England legend starred in such action hits as King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, released in 2017, 31% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Directed by Guy Ritchie.
It is, actually. And The Man from U.N.C.L.E., released in 2015, 68% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ian, it might be 1-0.
Oh, fucking hell.
Actually, no one.
Do you want to do answers at the end?
Yeah, we'll do it at the end.
Okay.
Speaking of Oscars, did I ever tell you guys I've held an Oscar?
Oh, yeah.
As
Yeah,
in-
an actual one. Yeah, like not like a person called Oscar.
Oh,
although
okay.
I've done that. Yeah, an actual Academy Award. I've held one.
What was that for?
My friend won it for being lead VFX or VFX supervisor, whatever the title is, on Ex Machina.
Oh, wow.
When that one.
Oh, I love that film.
That's a very good film.
Great film. Beat Star Wars, so they were well happy.
Yeah. Suck it, Oscar.
Amazing.
88-1 to win the award, and no, I didn't bet on it.
Oh.
Oh, dear. Okay, so question number 2. Vinnie Jones famously starred leading role, I think you'll agree, in X-Men The Last Stand.
Yeah.
Not where I thought you were going to go. But
Yeah, no.
What year was it released in? And an extra point if you can write down his kind of famous, memorable quote.
I know that one.
Yeah, fine.
Question 3. Which Brazilian World Cup star featured in Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage?
Oh my God, it's going to
released
be a whitewash.
2017.
Oh, I watched that film. It's so good.
His part in it is quite baffling.
He was not present for filming. They had to do all. That's why you never see him and Samuel L. Jackson together, because they were never actually together. So they had to film his scenes back to back. Think of a Brazilian footballer from the last few years, Ian.
Okay.
World Cup star as well. I should.
In a movie where extreme sports stars are made into secret agents.
Question 4. Frank LaBeouf starred in which 2014 Oscar-nominated film?
Oh, fuck. He plays a doctor.
God, you know, this is
believe all this
incredible how
extra
many
shit
of these
you
you
know.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He's been an actor for a few years. Always wearing turtlenecks is Frank.
Okay, question 5. Antoine Griezmann was a voice actor in the French version of the Lego Batman. Which character did he play? As an extra bonus fact, Olivier Giroud was also, I think he was the Green Goblin in an animated Spider-Man film.
Yeah.
Wow.
I knew that one. Why couldn't that be the fucking question? Jesus.
You can have a point. Have a point for knowing that. There you go.
It won't get me anywhere, trust me.
Oh, must put Lego beforehand, otherwise
Oh,
we
yeah,
might not
okay.
get
I
the
haven't written
point.
Lego before the answer. Just put that.
Well, unless he's playing himself, mate. You know, you've got it.
He's not playing Will Ferrell, or whichever the human characters are.
He's the Lego Will Ferrell.
That would be so random. Get Griezmann in to play the Lego Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell does not do his own voice.
Doesn't do his own voice, yeah.
And final question. Which former Premier League footballer had a brief cameo in the 1997 sci-fi classic The Fifth Element?
Huh. No idea.
Bruce Willis?
Fucking hell, this is going to be an absolute
Wait, as in
nightmare.
they were in the film after they were a footballer, or they were a footballer after they were in the film?
They were a footballer after they were in the film.
Yeah. I've heard it's the little kid that runs around. Again, I can't remember.
Sorry,
who it
but
is.
if you know this one, this is just
You
absurd.
can fuck off.
It is. It's the kid, you know, at the beginning where they run around and like they're in the. Anyway, no, I don't know who it is, but I'm gonna guess. I think it's a Spanish player.
Okay, ready for the answers?
This. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Question number 1. Chuck, you seemed to think you knew it.
David Beckham.
It is David Beckham.
He plays a knight, and he's like,
He's-
"Oh, I'm really tough."
Yeah, it's incredibly jarring to see like people sort of it suddenly cut to David Beckham in he's in a full knight's outfit as well. He looks very out of place.
It should have got the hate that Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones got.
100%. Yeah, it's even more jarring.
Because I was fine with Ed Sheeran. Like, that's fine, little ginger guy with a guitar in the woods. But anyway.
Okay. Question 2. Vinnie Jones starred in X-Men: The Last Stand, leading role. What year was the film released in? And bonus point if you can tell me his memorable quote.
Ian, do you want to go first?
I put 2008 and put have that, you mutant.
I mean, it's not far off.
No,
it's not far off.
I'm the juggernaut, bitch.
Correct.
That was his quote.
And I think 2005?
It was 2006.
Oh.
But you get the bonus point anyway.
So close.
Yay!
I can't believe I'm the juggernaut, bitch is an actual line in a sort of multi-million-dollar franchise.
He's a good actor. Good actor.
Versatile.
Okay.
Versatile. Yeah. I missed his turn in Schindler's List. Go on.
Oh my god. Moving swiftly on. Which Brazilian World Cup superstar starred in 2017's film? It didn't belong to the year 2017. It was released in 2017.
It should stay there.
It should. Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage.
Ian, what did you guess?
Cafu.
Oh, Ian, it's Neymar.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Neymar, well, Junior. His mum was not present.
Imagine if that was one of the reasons he faked an injury to go and film that.
Wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done it for worse things, Adam. Hashtag smashing mummy.
Oh, dear. Okay, all right, let's get this massacre done with then.
Question 4. Frank LaBeouf, Dr. Beef, starred in which Oscar-nominated film in 2014?
I can't remember. I know he's a doctor in it.
Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps.
No.
Idiot. That was like 2001.
Eddie Redmayne, The Theory of Everything.
Oh, I've seen that as well.
He is a doctor in it, though. You are right, Chuck.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. I was trying to think. Yeah, he's there when they're like diagnosing the. Anyway.
Question 5. Antoine Griezmann voiced which character in the French version of Lego Batman?
I put Lego Robin.
I'll put Lego Superman.
Ian, correct.
Yes, I got
Lego Superman.
Oh, yes.
Well played.
Excellent.
I'm so happy I got a point.
And you get a bonus point for knowing Olivier Giroud was the Green Goblin. I'm only saying that because I've won.
Yeah, because you know you've won, yeah.
Final question. Which former Premier League footballer had a brief cameo in 1997's The Fifth Element?
I put Fabregas.
Steve Guppy.
Call back. Imagine if it was Gups.
It was one size. One size fits
all.
all.
Fits all.
Oh, I knew that. Fuck,
He is
yes.
actually and when you said it, because he is a child at the start. So when you said that, I was very worried.
Yeah, no, he is. When they run round and then come. Yeah. Oh, fuck, I heard that. That was on something the other day as well, but I knew it before. Never mind, I won. Ian, play the music. What is my music?
What is your music? I can't remember these days. It's late.
Oh, Vindaloo.
It's late. Yeah, it's labelled up Chuck Wins. There you go.
It's labelled up Chuck Wins.
Yeah.
Excellent. Adam, you can stay, mate. You clearly do the best quizzes.
Oh.
I have no complaints about that one. Oscar, learn from that. Thank you very much for everything. What am I saying?
In general,
I really.
in life.
Just in life,
You've got
I'm
a tough
appreciative.
ending now because we're probably not going to do an episode next week. It's a little break in it, and so you got a tough ending now. I don't really know how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Good luck with it.
Jesus wept. Okay, yeah. So it's not international break, which feels good,
It's like a
but
cup
it is
break sort of thing,
cup
isn't it?
break. Yeah, it feels a bit weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, the transfer window rolls on, all that shit. We've got League Cup, Carabao Cup, FA Cup,
Do you want me to play the music?
Yeah, why didn't you start earlier? You do me no
I
favours.
just want to see how long it goes, that's all.
I guess we could record something next week. If not,
We'll
Chelsea,
see.
Fulham, Everton, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Leicester, Brentford, Southampton, Brighton, Bournemouth, Man United, Palace, Wolves, Liverpool, Newcastle, West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Leeds, Spurs, Man City, Man United, Leeds. Might be a double, might not. Say goodbye, Adam P.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Ian Stimpson.
Guppy is currently coaching at Nashville.
And bye to Jeff, Tom, Andy, Sam, John, and Mark.
Fucked it.
Nate. I just said John. Just pick the most generic name.
You said John and then
Bill.
just yelled mate at the end.
Mark. I yelled Mark.
Mark and
I
Nate.
thought
Nate,
Mark
he said.
and
Nate.
Yeah.
I thought you said mate as if it was like an instruction.
Mate.
And now we fuck.